Welcome back. I am going to be going to Cormac McQuinn from the Irish Independent in a second about the arson attacks up in the northwest. The arson attack. You just heard about the arson attack in Waterford City on property and cars there as well. Let us know what you think. Text us in 083 3333 975. Just had a text in. I grew up in the Mount Sion Avenue area. It's sad to hear that this is going on. This never happened before. Sharon is a hard-working lady. She doesn't deserve this to happen to herself. Cormac McQuinn. Good morning, Cormac.
Morning, Damien.
Thanks very much for joining us. I suppose technically the Gardaí are still saying that it's a suspected arson attack on Martin Kenny's car, the Sligo Leitrim Sinn Féin TD. Has it sort of been established at this stage that that's exactly what they're looking at? They're not looking at any other potential cause?
Well, they're certainly investigating this incident. It's quite a shocking incident as an incident of criminal damage by fire. So, I mean, that remains the case. It is a suspected arson attack on the home of a TD, one of our representatives that is sent to our national parliament, which, quite understandably has concerned a lot of people and has led to condemnation from across the political spectrum, from the Taoiseach to Sinn Féin leader Mary Lou McDonald.
Yeah, we'll go on to that now in a second. Firstly, you can read about this in the Irish Independent today. Please do support journalism and good journalism and buy that paper today, as well as all the local papers that are out in Waterford today. And you write extensively on it, and also your colleagues are writing on it online as well. In terms of what Martin Kenny said in the Dáil last week, he spoke about getting texts, being threatened and stuff like that. But then for somebody to go and do this, Cormac, for somebody to get up in the middle of the night to plan this and to actually execute potentially a horrendous fire at a car, which we've just talked to a woman here who a car was set on fire in front of a house and the house caught fire. When you set a car on fire, you just don't know what's going to happen.
Absolutely, and actually in the last few minutes, Martin Kenny has been on his local radio station, Ocean FM, and he does, I heard the first couple of minutes of the interview, he does seem quite shocked. He described what happened as just crazy. He said it was distressing, worrying. He spent yesterday trying to clean up the mess. He said the car was burnt to a shell. They had to get it removed, obviously, hose down the driveway, and he said that he and his family are recovering. But it's a very frightening incident to happen to anybody. To I suppose wake up in the middle of the night and find that your car in your front garden is on fire. It's terribly shocking.
Yeah, Paul Williams, your colleague, is writing in the paper today about it being an attack on democracy. Others saying the same thing, that you've mentioned, this idea that it's unheard of. Rory McKiernan, a fellow journalist, 3 arson attacks on proposed direct provision centres, threats to more, nobody charged. Now a member of Parliament is victim of an arson attack on a family home. Clear evidence online of far-right voices inciting and cheering violent extremism. Does someone need to die before action is taken? This is getting very serious, isn't it, Cormac?
Well, what we have here is a TD who spoke out in support of asylum seekers and providing emergency accommodation for them in his local area, Ballinamore, County Leitrim. He made a very impassioned speech in the Dáil last Thursday, where he hit out at hate speech and fear mongering about immigrants, and in the wake of that received what he described as sinister communications, including a death threat. Now, one of the lines of inquiry being investigated by the Gardaí is that the arson attack is linked to the death threats received by Mr. Kenny. The investigation is obviously ongoing, but there's certainly a narrative there that's very concerning, whereby you have a TD makes a speech in the Dáil on Thursday, and then days later there's an incident outside his family home.
It is, yeah. It's a very, very dangerous narrative. Very finally, Cormac, so far no arrests as far as we understand?
Not so far. The Gardaí, as I said, they're investigating this as criminal damage. Certainly, it's from the reaction, everyone, all of the politicians from Micheál Martin to Mary Lou McDonald have said that they want the perpetrators brought to justice, and this will be very closely watched, because it's just such an unusual event that a TD would be targeted like this.
Cormac McQuinn, thank you so much, and excellent reporting as ever. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Damien.
Thank you, Cormac Quinn there from the Irish Independent on the suspected arson attack up in Leitrim. So from arson attacks in Waterford, suspected arson attacks in Leitrim, we are going to be talking in a few minutes. Change the subject to John McDonough, the pumpkin grower, and also to Vicky Wall of the Irish Baby Loss Network. Vicky got a marvellous award at Butterfly Award, Services for Bereaved Parents. Vicky will be talking to us in a minute. Firstly, I'm going to go to Cameron Power. Cameron, it was one of the footballers last night that was in Galway, part of the squad to win that marvellous under-19 title. Cameron, good morning.
Good morning.
How's the head this morning?
I'm still absolutely buzzing after last night. I'd say we all are.
Yeah, it's been an amazing, amazing journey. Tell us a little bit about yourself growing up, Cameron. Was it Villa you played your football with growing up?
Yeah, I started out in the academy when I was 6 years of age. Ever since then, it was just all Villa throughout. All the managers that I had growing up, they kind of shaped me into the player that I am now. Conor Code, Flew, Johnny and Mick, they were all just absolutely brilliant with us. They taught us how to play football the right way, you know.
And I know that's what a lot of the players say about their own coaches, like Alex talking about Davy and Bowes and lads in Clonmel and lads in Carrick and different places. So the same thing applies, because it's that coaching that you get as youngsters that really makes you the players you are, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And the time that they put in, they genuinely care about their players and they want to see them progress to the next level. And that's when I think they're just the nurturing of them.
Yeah,
is absolutely mental.
And tell me, how long are you with the Waterford setup?
I joined the under-19s last year as a 16-year-old, and just the experience of last year is after making me become a better player this year. I'm still under-19 next year as well, so hopefully next year will be a good year as well.
Yeah.
This year.
Tell us about
amazing.
Tell us about the setup and the coaches and the buzz within the squad.
Coming at the start now, we had a shaky start, but we knew the quality in our dressing room and we knew how good we can be. And coming to the end, the last few weeks, there was a massive buzz around the club. There was just from everything, even training sessions, we were having a laugh at every single second through it. But there was just a massive buzz around the dressing room, massive buzz around the squads. Even though the whole academy set up, the under-13s, the under-15s, they were on a buzz as well. And
obviously Gary and Rocky and all the backroom team and the support that goes into it. There's an awful lot of work goes into it behind the scenes that people don't realise. Like, how much of an effort do you have to make yourself? Are you looking at what you're eating during the week and all that stuff?
Oh yeah, definitely. With especially Gary, seeing the work that Gary and the background team do, they have presentations, they have everything on our next opponents, they have a PDF on everything. But seeing them do that kind of made me think, Jesus, here I have to look at everything I'm doing during the week. Am I drinking the right water? Am I eating the right meals? Am I getting to sleep early? Just everything. Seeing their preparation kind of made me think I have to prepare that way as well.
Is that something that you've embraced? Is it a difficult thing to do? Is it something that sometimes you go, I wish I wasn't doing this? Or is it, do you buy into the project?
Oh no, you buy into it. Definitely buy into it. It's not that hard. Considering now that we're champions, I'd say it was all worth it in the end.
And winning the trophy last night, and obviously Alex, some goals from him throughout the season, and but a great team performance.
Oh, brilliant team performance. We took the lead early, and then we were solid throughout. We had a dip there in the first half, but we were always on top, always pushing forward for the second goal. But the two lads, Alex and Collie up front, you couldn't defend them for 90 minutes.
What would you like to do when you grow up, as they say, Cameron?
I'd like to test my ability over in England, over across the waters. I'd like to become the best player that I can be and reach the highest standard that I can of playing football.
Superb. Well, listen, congratulations to you and your family. I know your mum and dad and all the family and everybody very proud of you and everybody in the club. And congratulations, Cameron. The best of luck with everything.
Thank you.
Now, we've had a text in from a lady. Damien, could you find out, please, if any of those people who have suffered the arson attack in Mount Sion Avenue need any clothing, for example, if their clothing's been burned? I have some clothes and I can donate them to her if she wants. We will let you know about that, and we have your number there, texter. Thank you very much for that. Again, keep your texts coming in, 083 3333 975, or you can call Audrey on 051 846 123. Still no word back from the guards in Waterford about these arson attacks. We've had somebody else texting in about some antisocial behaviour in Lisduggan, where a lady has been targeted repeatedly, and wants to know what the guards are doing about that as well there. Now, we'll come back to that. Firstly, Vicky is in studio. Good morning, Vicky.
Morning, Damien.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Vicky, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Tell us about the family.
So I've an accent, but I was actually born in Dungarvan. I was born in the local hospital down there, and my parents left to go to Wales when I was 6 months old. So I lived in Wales until I was 14, and then came back, and I've been here then ever since. This is home.
What part of Wales?
Port Albert by Swansea.
Lovely.
Yeah.
So you've developed a little bit of the Welsh accent.
Bit of a mongrel accent, yeah. And people are like, where are you from? I'm like, town.
It's a lovely accent, the Welsh accent. Mixed with the Dungarvan, you could have something good going on there.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
Why not?
Yeah.
You are involved with the Irish Baby Loss Network. It's called Every Life Counts. Tell me why you got involved with this. 5
years ago, I found myself unexpectedly pregnant, very unexpectedly, and after the shock kind of settled, at a scan where I was just going to kind of see if I was having a boy or a girl, we found out that she was sick. And
how many weeks pregnant were you?
24. So we had to go to Dublin then for all that to be confirmed, where they told us that she was incompatible with life and that she wouldn't live. I had never been around baby loss. I knew ignorance is bliss, and I never knew the babies even got sick and died like that. I just thought she could be fixed. And I'd never even heard of trisomy 18, which is Edwards syndrome. So Liadhan made it to 32 weeks before she was stillborn. How
difficult was it for you, those weeks from that first diagnosis to the 32 weeks?
It was incredibly difficult. Each day is just all you can think about. Is this the day that she'll pass? What will happen? I'd be kind of a very OCD controlling kind of a person, and all this was taken out of my control. I believe that was a gift that Liadhan gave me. She's made me realise what is important and what isn't. My wonderful consultant in Waterford Hospital said to me, Vicky, come out of work, spend this time with her now. These are her first steps now. Enjoy them. And it was like just being given a green card to go ahead and spend time with her. So I did. I came out of work, I took my maternity leave and spent the summer talking to her, playing her One Direction songs. Well, the older kids were, I hated that. I think she did too.
Where did the name come from?
So Liadhan is actually a Waterford name. It means grey lady, and it's a story about a nun who fell in love with a poet, and she left the order to be with him, and he set sail out to sea because he didn't want her to do that. He was a man of good faith as well, and she lay down and died of a broken heart. But it was just a name that we absolutely loved, and it just suited her.
It's a beautiful name.
It really is, yeah, it really is.
There are some great midwives in Waterford and every hospital around the country.
Yeah.
We were just talking, Jill is over there. Tell us a little bit about Jill.
Jill is amazing. Every Life Counts has been working with the HSE on the bereavement standards, and these have been running for the last 2 years, and they will be coming to a final end in March. They've done amazing work. They've ensured that there's bereavement midwives in the 19 hospitals throughout Ireland, which is amazing and a much needed service. Now, when I had Liadhan, there was no bereavement midwife, but you have Mary Frisbee over Arkeen, and she is just amazing. You have Amy, you have Elaine. Arkeen was amazing to me. My consultant, Dr. John Birmingham, I couldn't praise him enough.
What, and this is 5 years ago?
Yeah.
What were you told to expect? What were you told would happen? What were you told about bereavement, and maybe what was going to happen to you?
And see, this is the thing. This is why I help with Every Life Counts. They couldn't really tell me anything. You don't know if this baby is going to make it to term, if it's going to pass early. It was a 1 in 10,000 chance that she made it past 12 weeks. Some babies go on and live for maybe 12 months. Some babies we do know of live for 18 years. I always hoped for the very best for Liadhan. I hoped she would have lived for some time. Even that was a scary thought, that if she had lived, she would have been very disabled. But we wanted her to live nonetheless. But the doctors were amazing. They said, look, you're going to hear stories of hope. And between navigating anticipatory grief and hope is very, very difficult. You want to hope, but you know that you're probably facing a loss as well. But they were amazing. I didn't realise the grief would be as painful after losing her as it was. That really knocked me off my feet. I had never suffered grief before. And it's terrifying, and it's lonely, and it's incredibly painful.
The physical, I suppose, procedures that are put in place after the medical procedure, holding her, all those. Tell me about that.
So Liadhan, I was 32 weeks, and Liadhan had started to slow down in her movements. And when she'd done that, I would have something sugary, which would wake her up. So she loved cake. And the doctor told me that, because I explained this to the doctor, he said, yeah, it would wake her up because she can taste what you eat in her amniotic fluid. So she loved Marks and Spencer's blackberry sundaes. And she'd been very still. And I was very worried, and a friend called, and I said, she's not moving so much. And she said, come on, we'll have some cake, and that'll get her moving. And it did. She gave this big, massive kick, a really strong kick. And I remember hugging my bump and just saying, you hang in there, cupcake, you got this. And a short time after that, I got a really, really bad pain. And that was the last time Liadhan kicked. We went to the hospital to have her checked. They were so good. They would have me down for a scan anytime I felt I needed one. And we could see then she had passed. So they gave me the option of going home or coming straight in to have her delivered. We went home for a day or two just to let it all sink in. It was very strange because that evening when we told family she had passed, everybody came round and we had pizza and Coke. And just, she was safe and she was there. I went in to have her on the Sunday, and they were amazing, and we had photos taken with her. The midwives treated her with such respect and love, and she had to have a little skin scraping taken, and I remember the doctor put a plaster on her leg. She was dressed, and we got to keep her with us, and we got to bring her home for a night before she was buried.
Very hard to describe, isn't it? Very hard to describe. I know there's relatives and I know people that have gone through this, and to lose a baby, it's just unimaginable.
It is. It's and I don't think I say this to people. You can't imagine it because the pain is too huge. And I do remember thinking, one of my best friends in work, she was inconsolable, and she was like, Vicky, you've no idea how much this is going to hurt. You're taking it too well. And I remember thinking, yes, it will hurt, but I'll be okay. I haven't met this little person. What memories do I have? I haven't seen her face. I knew I'd be sad, but I didn't expect the absolute torturous heartbreak that came after losing her. It didn't matter that she hadn't lived outside my body. It was a case of, it felt the same as if one of my older children had died. I knew she was missing. To this day, if we take a family photo, she's missing from that photo. We have her pictures hanging around the house, you know, her handprints and her footprints hang on the wall of shame, as the kids call it. You know, we've all these photos up, and she's just a big part of everything in our lives.
Tell me about the footprints, the handprints, because this is something that the bereavement counsellors and the bereavement midwives have developed, and there's now a lot more supports in place. Absolutely. So tell us, because we will be talking to Jill and going over to the hospital to do a piece on this later in the week, what little things are done to in some way
So in Ireland we
pain?
have Féileacáin. They're a wonderful, wonderful charity, and they provide memory boxes in all the hospitals, and you get this beautiful memory box, and you can take footprints of the baby, and they do casts, and then you have Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep, and they do remembrance photography, which is something, when I heard about it before I had been exposed to losing my daughter, that I thought was almost macabre. I thought it was who would want to take a photo of a dead child? Oh gosh, I couldn't even look at those pictures. And now those pictures, I love them so much. We have them of Liad, and she looks like she's sleeping. You know, we have pictures taken with all the family, and we love them. And it is one of those things that's why we try to create awareness around it, because you don't know, and it's hard to realise that people go through this absolute tragic grief.
And that's one of the reasons we're talking about it this morning. That's one of the reasons that you're wanting to talk about it, because the more we talk about it, the more people can, in some way, try to understand it.
Absolutely.
Acceptance may be years down the line, but some sort of understanding. And there probably are a lot of women this morning in particular, but men as well, families listening to this, that it's happened to them, it's upset them, and it's bringing back difficult memories. And if that's in mind, and if they do need to talk to somebody about it, just before I forget it, how can they contact Every Life Counts? How can they contact any of the services?
So we have a 24-hour number that they can contact us on. It's 01 879 2382. There's also Féileacáin. They can be contacted via their website. They have a number as well. I'm sorry, now I don't know what off my hat.
No, that's okay.
But it's Féileacáin, and they're on Facebook, they're on the internet, and they actually do a lot of bereavement care for women that would have lost babies and dads 20, 30, 40 years ago that would have suffered. So
it's Every Life Counts. So it's 01 879 2382. That's 01 879 2382. Anybody affected by this piece. You recently won a thank you award at the Butterfly Award for services for bereaved parents. The commendation, my understanding, they really appreciated what you've done.
Yeah, it's such a privilege. People say to me, I don't know how you do that, but it's such a privilege to be around these parents when they have their babies. To be nominated was just out of this world. It's never about thanks.
Where was the award?
So they were actually held in the UK. It was a mum from Northern Ireland that nominated us for it, and she also nominated us for Best UK Sport Organisation, because we cover all of Ireland. We have worked in Limavady, Enniskillen, Belfast, and we just go wherever we need it, wherever help is needed, and whatever the parents need from us. But it was such an honour, and it was such a beautiful event, and to be anybody that works with baby loss, they all deserve awards. You know, it's such a selfless, beautiful thing, and just so much work being done around it now. It's wonderful to see.
Maternity units are joyous places. They're places where there's so much happiness, and then in the midst of that, life can be so damn cruel.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, that's how we have to look after our healthcare workers as well, our midwives. And you know, the midwife that was with me when I had Liad, and you know, she came in and she cried. You know, she held us both and she cried, and you know, I often think of her going home that evening. I think of the lady in the doctors, the nurse that couldn't find Liad's heartbeat when I went to my GP first. I didn't see her for about 2 years afterwards, and I remember when I went into her for my new baby's injections, and I said, "Do you remember me?" And she looked really kind of sheepish, and she said, "I do." I suppose she didn't want to bring it up in case she felt she'd upset me. And I said, "That day must have been really hard on you." And she said, "Well, I was more concerned about you." And I was like, but were you okay? And she said, well, she said, when I went home, she said, I did cry. And she said, we had checked and we saw then that she had died on the scan. So it affects everybody, all these workers. But I think the HSE is brilliantly, Keelan O'Donoghue in Cork is leading the bereavement standards, and she's doing wonderful work in protecting our workers and helping them through the jobs that they have to do.
The HSE is criticised a lot for a lot of different things. It's one area that I understand they've actually done really good work on this, and you're saying that and confirming that as well.
Absolutely.
And you can have midwives there 20, 30 years, they've seen everything, but still the loss of a baby like this can affect them, and it can. And I suppose that's the empathy that you feel in the maternity services, and the sadness that comes from it not being a joyous occasion.
Yeah. Yeah, they have to feel that too. I mean, to go into work and expect the unexpected loss. There's a massive amount of babies that die quite suddenly during labour and at birth, and that's extremely difficult for those. But no, I mean, I visited most of the maternity hospitals around. I've been to Sligo. We have done a few other ones. We've been to Cork and Waterford. And they do amazing work. You just couldn't criticise them. Any criticism is just from being overworked. But they're amazing angels of people.
So it's 01 879 2382. It's the Every Life Counts, Féileacán as well, online. How are you now, and how's the family?
We're all good. We're great. There's so much healing in Liadhan's story. Grief does last a long time. I love talking about it. We all love talking about it. We have little Oren now. He's 4. And he's the boss.
Hello to Oren.
Absolutely. And we're all good. And she's we're healed. We'll always miss her. She'll always be missing. But we have no regrets.
Vicky Wall, thank you so much.
Thanks
for coming up from Dungarvan to us this morning, and the very best of luck with everything.
Thank you so much.
Now we're going to be talking to John McDonough in a second about how to grow massive pumpkins. So if you have any interest in pumpkins, stay with us on that. Firstly, some texts coming in regarding what's happened in Mount Sion Avenue. Michael texted in to say he lives in the area. He's shocked by what's happened. It's normally a quiet, lovely area. I will concur with you there on that, Michael. I know a number of people living up there, and it is a really quiet residential area, as you heard Sharon earlier say. People know each other so well. Catherine has texted in, Damien, that interview with Vicky has made me cry. Emer has texted in, my heart breaks for that lady. The loss of her baby brings back painful memories for us when we lost our first baby through miscarriage after trying for a year. It is just heartbreaking. Damien, I'm listening to your interview regarding loss of beautiful angels. I'm also so sad it brings back memories of my niece. And my niece, who was born in 1989 and died 3 days later. I'm feeling so sad for that family and her lady. Thanks to Vicky and my special sister who suffered the loss of her little angel. Other people texting in about that as well. So let us know, 083 333 975. John, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Wonderful, thank you. John McDonough, you're featured in the Waterford News and Star this morning. Page 2, you make the front you make the main lead, as they say, for the story, an exclusive by Dermot Keys. Well done to Dermot for having the chat with you. Kilmacthomas pumpkin makes historic weight. It's lovely, and the pictures are great on it as well. Tell us about it. Tell us about this pumpkin.
Okay, well, this pumpkin is 767 pounds, about 3/4 of a ton, or 350 kilos. So it's big. It's the biggest one I've ever grown, and I started growing pumpkins about 25 years or so ago. I came from Chicago originally, and came over here, and all you had were turnips to carve. So I said, no, that's not going to do me. And I got myself some seeds, and I started growing. And then about 15 years ago, I met up with another grower in Waterford, Walter Hartree, and he was growing pumpkins too. And the two of us kind of put our heads together, and we started growing giant pumpkins. And we started trying to increase the weight. And every year we've increased the weight of the pumpkin, and either we grow one out in his farm or out in my backyard, and we kind of work together on that. And this year we got the biggest one we've ever grown by probably a country mile.
Yeah, I know, and Dermot will work closely with Watty Hartree as well, and it's and Watty's it's a great man as well. How did you manage to grow such a big pumpkin? Like, what do you do to make a pumpkin grow so massively?
A lot of it is the seeds. You got to get seeds with the genetics from another big pumpkin. So what I would do is I would look for giant seeds that other growers would be growing. And like this year, I think the seeds out of this pumpkin are going to be great because I took a giant pumpkin Watty was growing and I pollinated my plant with that one. And so both of the genetics are really good at that. And that means that the seeds in that will most probably produce a giant pumpkin as well. Now, that'll get you up to 200 or 300, 400 pounds, but then you got to start feeding it and controlling the environment and doing all sorts of stuff. You feed it a few small children generally, and that helps it too, but other than that.
It's ginormous, you know, it really is. What's happened to it, or what's happening to it?
Well, what I'm going to do is I'll clean it out and I'll take the seeds out, and some people are looking for seeds. The more people that grow it, the better. I'd like to see how the seeds work, and then I'll carve it for Halloween. I've already got an idea of how I want the face to look, so I'll cut it up and display it, put loads of tea lights in it, and put it out for Halloween. Well, it's going to sit outside anyway.
Yeah, sit outside, because a lot of people would love to see this and see what you're going to do with it. Can I just ask you about the soil? Is the soil important?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is. You have to put a lot of manure, feed. Soil needs to be built up over years and years, like really to get it good. That is probably the next most important thing, is to have really rich soil. So the remains of that giant pumpkin will go back into the pumpkin patch it grew, because it's incredibly rich with minerals and will enrich the soil as well. And there's 700 pounds of fertilizer.
Will you eat some of it? Do you like pumpkin?
Yeah. I'll make a pumpkin pie. Both my wife and myself like pumpkin pie. Teresa's make a pumpkin pie, and we'll now. We could probably make, 500 pumpkin pies, but I think one will be enough.
You could make a lot of pumpkin pies off this. Yeah, very much so. Good. And tell me, I see as well, Dermot writes, that you're a skilled pumpkin carver. Have you any particular...
That's how I got into it. Huh? That's why I got into growing pumpkins, because I wanted something to carve. And I found the turnips to be kind of difficult, let's say. So I like to carve, little scenes and things like that in them, something maybe a little bit unusual. So I started looking for a bigger and bigger canvas to carve on, and now I have the biggest one I ever had.
Oh, that's brilliant. It's a fabulous story. Listen, John, thank you so much, and well done to Watty and yourself and to everybody and to all the family there, and continued success. And good luck with the carving. Send us on a picture when you have it all done, will you?
When it's done. Okay.
Do, please.
Great.
John McDonough, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Really appreciate it. That's John McDonough, Kilmacthomas pumpkin making historic weight. Let us know what you think about pumpkins. Do you like pumpkin pie? Is it something that would whet your appetite? Some people texting in. A lady texted us in the number for Féileacáin, and that number is 085 249 6464. That's Féileacáin. That's for parents that suffer bereavement of babies. Info at féileacáin.ie. 085 249 6464. This lady said, fantastic people when we lost our grandson Christopher earlier this year.